Shawn Ray's name is practically etched into bodybuilding history, not just for what he built with his physique, but for the way he carried himself, outspoken, polished, and at times polarizing. A top-tier competitor throughout the 90s, Ray never won the Mr. Olympia title, but he placed in the top 5 for 12 straight years, an achievement few have matched in terms of consistency, shape, and longevity at the elite level. Shawn turned pro in 1987 after winning the NPC Nationals as a light heavyweight, and from there, he quickly made his mark. His most iconic years were spent chasing the Sandow Trophy in the Dorian Yates era. A nearly impossible task given Dorian's overwhelming mass and grainy conditioning. Still, Shawn was often considered the epitome of classical balance and aesthetics. He didn't just show up to compete, he showed up to remind the world what bodybuilding used to look like: proportions, symmetry, and detail. He stood around 5 feet 7 inches, weighing in at about 210 to 215 pounds in competition. But every inch of that frame was maxed out. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, full round quads, and some of the most detailed arms and abs in the sport. In an era increasingly defined by mass, Shawn represented the high watermark for physique artistry. When guys like Dorian or Nasser El Sinbadi stepped on stage, they brought sheer density. But when Shawn stepped up, it was finesse, precision, and flow. He didn't overwhelm you with size. He mesmerized you with structure. Of course, Shawn Ray was never afraid to speak his mind. That trait carried over well into his post-competition career as a commentator and media figure. But during his active years, it definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. He openly criticized judging decisions, even when they didn't involve him. And he was known to take verbal jabs at fellow competitors or promoters. Some called it confidence, others called it arrogance. Either way, he didn't hide behind politics, and he was rarely neutral. His most infamous moment probably came in his criticism of Dorian Yates' physique. He argued that Yates lacked the aesthetics and proportion that made bodybuilding a true art. Questioning whether Dorian's extreme level of conditioning, often marked by injuries and a very grainy, almost brutal look, was really the ideal standard for the sport. These weren't the kind of comments you made lightly, especially in the 90s, when bodybuilders mostly kept their heads down and stayed in their lanes. But Shawn didn't play that game. One of the controversies that followed him came after his competitive career, as he became a prominent media figure. Many in the bodybuilding community felt he was too critical of modern athletes, quick to tear down rather than build up. He's had feuds with athletes like Kai Green and Brandon Curry, with critics accusing him of gatekeeping the sport. detractors say he can be condescending and dismissive, while his supporters claim he simply refuses to sugarcoat the truth. But let's bring it back to the training, because whatever you think of the man, the results spoke volumes. Shawn trained hard, but he didn't buy into the ultra-heavy, low-rep mantra that others followed. His training style focused on high volume, impeccable form, and constant tension. He was known for using moderate weights with a lot of control and squeezing every inch of a rep. His philosophy was to train the muscle, not the movement, something echoed by many greats like Charles Glass and Vince Gironda. He believed in the mind-muscle connection long before it was trendy to talk about it on Instagram. And even though he trained with intensity, he didn't chase failure on every set. He chased the pump, the burn, the feel. One known example of a typical Shawn Ray chest workout looked like this. Incline barbell press, 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Flat dumbbell press, 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Incline dumbbell flies, 3 sets of 12 reps. Cable crossovers, 3 sets of 15 reps. Push-ups, bodyweight burnout, 2 sets to failure. His rep ranges were higher than many of his contemporaries, and he didn't ego lift. That's why his chest always looked full and carved, even though he was competing against men who were 30 to 40 pounds heavier. And that brings us to his legacy. Shawn Ray is a figure who refuses to be forgotten, not just because of his physique, but because of his voice. He's one of the few bodybuilders from the 90s whose name is still mentioned today, not just in nostalgia, but in active debate. Whether you agreed with him or not, you listened. He made sure of that. And at the end of the day, that's part of what defines greatness in this sport. Consistency, aesthetic excellence, and a willingness to stand alone. Shawn Ray had all three.